I want to thank so many of you. Some I feel compelled to thank by name. Of course, the entire Columbia Development Corporation team, Fred Delk and his board members, I think Todd Stewart's his board chairman, and several of you, I see Kirkland and some others out here. Thank you so much for your stewardship, stepping up when we needed you, as usual, and helping make this happen. The wonderful team at the Palmetto Trust, like the Historic Columbia Foundation. Ron, I'm glad this is over, so we can get Danny off of our backs. Danny Rothschild has been a wonderful representative of PMC, and Ron, the commitment of your company to this city has been a long time and growing and significant, and we want to thank you for your unshakable faith to Columbia over these decades. To all the wonderful residents of the Ward 1 community who stepped up time after time and who continue to work to make sure that we're all reminded how important this building is, but how important it is to make sure people understand that our story matters and the deep and rich history that could have been erased with the demolition of this building. I want to say thank you to the folks at Ward 1. I want to say thank you to our staff at the city. Missy Gentry and her entire team. It took a whole lot of sweat equity and creativity of so many when we found ourselves between a rock and a hard place, allowing private property rights, which are so important in America, to reign supreme and look at the demolition of this building, or just trying to find someone quickly to purchase it. And we had to figure out a way. We said, hey, if no one else will do it, we'll do it. And it took our wonderful team, led by our city manager, Teresa Wilson, and Missy Gentry and Jeff Palin, our CFO, and others to make this happen. I want to thank so many other volunteers here, Richard Birch and so many others who dedicated so much time and energy to this property, even sometimes when it seemed hopeless. I think Missy thought that Richard and some others were here sleeping under the bridge, making sure nothing would happen while we were making this happen. As I thank Ward 1, I see my friend Dr. Bobby Donaldson out here, who I think is our historian in chief, who keeps us all reminded of the wonderful contributions that history has made in Columbia. And obviously, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our hero, Rosie Craig. Rosie? Without whom none of this would have been possible. She is a fierce lady and a tough negotiator, and we're so happy. And I want to make sure every one of us knows that today you aren't just preserving history, we're making it. And we're so proud to be standing here together. When we did step forward 2 years ago and voted to save this priceless piece of our city's history, there were a lot of folks who said there was no way we'd make our money back, and who thought otherwise we were dreaming or we were downright crazy. Well, big dreams are what change the world. And thanks to the dedication, hard work, and vision of all of you standing here, a lot more couldn't be said here today. We have not only made our money back, we made a small profit, and not just by helping facilitate this sale, but by transforming what was meant to be a single project private investment of $40 million into a comprehensive multi-project redevelopment, upwards of $100 million in private dollars, creating a new economic engine that will drive Ward 1 and the entire city of Columbia into a bold new future. That's not crazy, it's visionary. And frankly, it's just the beginning of the great vision of each and every one of you assembled here. So I just want to say thank you for your leadership. The city of Columbia is in your debt. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. To everyone that's assembled, especially the developers, and more importantly, Rosie. to Dr. Donaldson, who's here with us this afternoon, I just want to read a statement from the Ward 1 community. And I would like all the members of Ward 1 that's able to stand to please stand with me. All the members of Ward 1 community. May I begin this statement by stating, since being involved to share in the controversial issues surrounding the Palmetto Compressor Warehouse, we have experienced a plethora of emotions because of its symbolism to the once Ward 1 community. Continuing, as president, I've chaired a number of discussions, and much of the talking points that evolved were geared toward the realization that we had no voice in the decision-making process. During these exchanges and discussions, the inevitable question was, what is the historical significance of the PCW to a community that has lost so much to the guise of urban renewal and USC expansion? But time will never erase what is etched in the hearts and minds as it relates to the people, properties, schools, the many houses of worship, and the businesses that once existed, with the exception of the New Samaritan Baptist Church. And this building are the only buildings that we as residents have to say that we were a part of a historical community. For some, the building from the Lower Blossom Street landscape triggers empathy and a vacancy of familiarity. For some, it represents the once means of gainful employment, even though wages did not suffice the work that many laborers endured daily. For some, the implication of cotton gave rise to negative feelings of enslavement and atrocities. For some, it was the end of an era and the acceptance of inevitable progress. In retrospect, and lastly for now, in 1991, treasured memories gave rise to the establishing of the Ward 1 Reunion Organization. This 501c3 organization was established in part for the purpose of fostering continued awareness of the historical significance of the old community, as well as a never-ending reminiscing of its shared histories and legacies. Finally, as we continue our quest of fostering renewed attention to the remembering of the old and loving community, we are excited today to learn that promises to designate a space to preserve the important history of Ward 1 are being kept. Editorials, documentations, and involvement from Historic Columbia and minutes before the City Council combined and underscored the most compelling defense offered over the past 3 years to save and preserve the compressor warehouse. And more importantly, it is a close association to our historic African American neighborhood, which is today a great blessing that a remnant of the old Ward 1 will remain. In conclusion, and again, the Ward 1 community, we, the officers and members of the Ward 1 community, offer our heartfelt thanks to you, Rosie, and the developers for your commitment, and the mayor for your commitment to keeping your word, and we look forward to working with you to crystallize these plans. Submitted by Mattie Anderson Robertson, President, May Jenkins, Secretary, on this 16th day of April, 2015. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Is this a happy day? Thank you, Maddie. I got to meet those fine neighbors when the posse got cranked up 2.5 years ago, and got to hear the stories and the reminiscing. And so now my friend list is longer than it was before. It is on the foundation of historic preservation that the booming economy or economic engine of our city's Congaree Vista continues to flourish. From the Vista's heart at Lincoln and Gervais to the river and the old Columbia Mill, successfully renovated into our state museum, the handsome character of this post-industrial historic warehouse district is well defined and continues to draw people and businesses from everywhere. Our successful municipal neighbors in Charlotte and Greenville envy that we still have so much of our people's history intact. They know now that you don't tear down buildings without destroying the stories of the people. So congratulations, Columbia. This historic rehab is a testament to your democratic will. Every time you cross the Blossom Street flyover and look out at this old behemoth, which is what Matt calls it, remember 1,500 petitioners and our mayor who stepped up. And my now renowned preservation posse, you know who you are, and Historic Columbia Foundation, the Ward 1 Neighborhood, the Congaree Vista Guild, Columbia Development Corporation's talented and dedicated board. Least that we forget the core of artists. Mike Craig and I came here with not a lot of money, a whole lot of passion and talent, and a house full of kids. This was a cheap place for artists to do business. We have the magnificent talent from Trustis Theater, the Midland's only nonprofit professional theater that's providing our music today. The Guild is paying for that, so thanks to them. But we don't want to forget the fact that we are an unusual and wonderful part of town, and this is not your typical press conference. All of who I've mentioned spent untold hours to bring this all together. The historic Cotton Warehouse holds people's stories and gives us a power of place. I always knew the right developer was out there, but didn't know early on, Richard Burtz, the depth of my personal commitment to that belief. I never gave up. Little did I realize when winning the bid that the perfect developer was just a few blocks away. An experienced, skilled, successful historic preservationist who could see beyond the rotted balconies and sloped floors and recognize the innate opportunity of this property in this location. On this day, I have the privilege of introducing that gentleman. 15 years ago, Ron Kaplan's company, PMC Property Group, brought the old Olympia and Granby Mills into the 21st century by converting it into apartments for some 1,100 USC students, and is currently wrapping up a newly constructed addition of 400 units for young professionals and students. This extremely talented developer has completed in excess of 30 national historic renovation projects, including such prominent buildings as the Alcoa headquarters in Philadelphia, the R.J. Reynolds headquarters in Winston-Salem, the Philadelphia School Administration Board headquarters. Obviously, our beloved Palmetto Cotton Warehouse is in very good hands, and PMC's development will add to the $600 million of private investment dollars already booked in the Vista. I'd like to share what Winston Churchill said about private investment, and then I'm done. Some people regard private enterprise as a predatory tiger to be shot. Others look on it as a cow they can milk. Not enough people see it as a healthy horse pulling a sturdy wagon. This is a sturdy wagon. Please join me in appreciation to Ron Kaplan and PMC Property Group for their continued commitment to Columbia, the great and beautiful capital city of the great state of South Carolina.
Talk about a tough act to follow. So I came to Columbia about 15 years ago. And at that time, the building that I was looking at were the Olympia and Granby Mills, and they weren't in a condition as good as this one. And I met a woman by the name of Bernice Scott, who was the most unbelievable public official that I have ever met. She was the most positive, gracious, warm, and committed person that I have met in all the buildings that we've done, in all the cities that we've worked, up and down the East Coast. And Bernice said to me, I believe the Lord has sent me, and the Lord will provide, and you will get the Olympia and Granby Mills redeveloped. When it was all done, it was about 1 million square feet. And I will tell you, it was Bernice's words that inspired me at the low, low points of that development. And trust me, there were many. All right? So here I am again, trying to help the people in Columbia salvage the history that others have looked at and said couldn't be salvaged. We're going to do our best, and I hope I make you proud, because the people of the First Ward, just like the people of the Mill Village, deserve this piece of history in their lives. And we're going to do everything in our power to do our part to make sure it's a piece of Columbia that makes everybody proud. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm thrilled to be here and look forward to working and meeting all of you. Thank you.
You know, as we say in politics, just a very quick point of personal privilege, as Kevin sings Beautiful City. I'd hope that we'd all take this as maybe a moment of recognition and silence of our friend Bob Coble. Bob and Ron shared some great stories with me as well of Bob's great stewardship, working with him in the past. And Bob had a serious health condition last night, and as he recovers, I'd hope that you all keep him in prayer. All right, thank you.